This is C5 again. This time around we're going around each one of us to give you some idea of what we do best. It's my turn to introduce Leon, one of our members. And so Leon, if I were to ask you, what is it that you regard as your key driver, the thing that you enjoy and you find inspiring the most, what would you say?
So if you read the resume, there's certain information in the resume, but what I think it's interesting to look at is what brings everything together. And the perspective that I'd like to bring to my resume is perhaps what's not clear there is the fact that I have a certain detective style in me. And that detective style or lens, shall we call it a systemic lens, is a way to look at systems, whether it's an individual, whether it's a family system, whether it's an organizational system, but it's a lens through which I then will analyze and see what is the system's optimal flow and what is the system's optimal capacity to be functional and to be successful. And from that perspective, then I will look at the individual and the team and support them to get to that optimal and functional flow. My fascination was born from family constellations and organizational constellations, something that I learned from the big teachers, the great teachers from Germany. And that is my unique contribution to organizational systemic approach and coaching. That's cool.
Yeah, and Leon, what I would like to add is that what I really appreciate is your calm and your ability to see the energy in the room and the relationship between people from an energetical point of view. And my question for you is, what is the gesture that you make to maintain your calm inside of you?
I see that, you know, that beautiful metaphor of the pebble in the pond, but on a quiet pond, when the pebble drops in your pond and then spreads out and touches the big lake. I see that kind of image in my mind when I speak and connect with people. Thank you, Alan.
And what I would like to add to what Alan said about Leon is the fact that there is an interesting way of mapping the situation, the relationship, and everything that the people are going through, such that they can really understand where they are in relationship to everything they're doing. I believe that's one of the most important things, you know, to realize where you are in relationship to what you're doing. And I wondered, you know, what are you listening for when you talk to people to get there?
I think that's a very important question. I think what I'm listening for is what affects them. What are they going in effect about? What are they disturbed by? So the language of disturbance, the language of being affected by something, then immediately I can see and hear and listen to what is the potential in that language to transform the experience to a calm and peaceful experience. And that's what I'm listening for.
Thank you.
You know, it's very interesting because hidden, in my view anyway, in what you've said, or not made explicit, I'm going to ask you a question in a minute, is that in order to do this, one has to be there already, in my opinion. And so the question that I would ask you to perhaps expand a little bit on is, how does one create or enter or be in a state that is such that what you described is possible? In other words, how do you get to be in a place where what you've just talked about becomes natural?
Panos, it is a good question for me. The tools that I use is to become still. I see stillness not as a threat. I see stillness as one of my biggest assets. When I engage with stillness, there's an inner resource, like a fountain that opens up. So that's the way that I would describe it. To actually demonstrate that right now, that's a completely different story, and it will take much longer than we are now.
You see, again, I mean, obviously we don't have much time, right? And
yes.
for the sake of keeping this short, I just want to tell the audience that, in fact, this is my greatest appreciation being and working with you, is that I know that you always got this feeling of calmness going, and no matter what's happening in the group, at least we know Leon's got the calm corner happening. And so I'm very grateful for that, and I just want to appreciate you for that. And so in closing, to the audience, I hope you enjoyed this, and yeah, see you on the C5 platform.